Welcome to Web API tutorials. I am Venkat. This is part 19, HTTP patch in Web API. In the previous video, we have already discussed there are two kinds of HTTP actions to update a student or record. First one is the HTTP put and second one is the HTTP patch. In the previous video, we have already discussed about HTTP put. In this video, we will look into HTTP patch endpoint. This is the HTTP put endpoint. To see the drawbacks of this HTTP put, we need to run it first. Let me run it. To overcome the drawback, we need to use HTTP patch endpoint. So here you can see this is the HTTP put endpoint. Let me get the student to update. I'm executing get all. I got all the students. I'm copying the second student details. And I want to update using this HTTP put endpoint. Before updating, I want to show you the inspect element, debugging tools. I'm going to the network. So before executing the update endpoint, open your developer tools and open the network tab so that we can see the network going to the server. I have replaced the student details. Here is the student name and email and address. As I am showing you this small demo, I have only 4 fields. In your real application, you might be having 100 fields or 500 fields or 1000 fields sometimes. So in those situations, in HTTP put endpoint, if I want to update only one field or one property of the student, it will send all the details to the server. So I'm making Anil G. So I just made modification to the student name property, but rest of all are same. Now I'm clicking on update, execute. So there is a request logged here. And if you see the response, it is a 204. The changes got applied. But what are all the fields it sent to the server? So we have updated only one field, but in HTTP put endpoint, it is sending all the fields to the server, irrespective of the change you made. So the proof for that is here. So this is the network tab. In the network, we can capture all the request or traffic going to the server. So this is the payload. This is the payload sent to the server. If you look at this one, it is sending all the details, ID, student name, email, address. It has sent everything to the server, but we have updated only student name. Irrespective of the change, HTTP put endpoint sending all the fields to the server. So for this demo, we have used only 4 fields. What if we are using 1000 fields or 2000 fields or 100 fields? So if you are making only change to the student name, it will send all 100 fields to the server. That's not correct or required. It will take some time. It's not performance effective. To overcome this problem, we will use the HTTP patch. Inside the HTTP patch endpoint, whatever you want to update, if you want to update student name, it will send only the student name details to the server. Okay, that's how the HTTP patch will work. Let us build the HTTP patch endpoint. Let me copy the HTTP put endpoint. I'm copying and I have pasted it. Let us change the HTTP put to HTTP patch. Then let me update the endpoint also. Update partial. So this is the correct name for the route. Update partial. And here also update partial. The route will be update partial. We have modified the endpoint. Now to support the patching concept, we need to install 2 libraries. Those are these 2 libraries. First one is the Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.json patch and the second one is the Newtonsoft JSON. Let me install these 2 libraries from the Nugget packages. Manage Nugget packages. Browse. This is the library I want to install. That one is installed. And let me get the second library name. Yeah, I want to install this one also. Okay, accept. Okay, there is some error. it is saying Newtonsoft JSON 7 version 7 is not compatible with .NET 6. Okay. So I have updated my Visual Studio to support .NET version 7. That's why it is saying project is running under 6, but we are trying to install a 7 version library. Let me change the project version to .NET 7. So right now we are using .NET 6. I'm changing it to .NET 7. Close it. Save the changes. Let me install now. Yeah, it got installed. Good to go. Yes. So we have installed the JSON patch document on Newtonsoft JSON. We need to register that Newtonsoft JSON here. Dot add Newtonsoft JSON library here. So I have registered Newtonsoft JSON library in the program.cs and going to the controller. So here instead of direct model, we need to maintain the JSON patch document model. JSON patch document of this type. And let me change the name also. Patch document. This is a meaningful. And here we do not have any model. I'm just validating the patch document is null, then I'm sending bad request. So if you notice here, we need ID to fetch the existing student to update, right? So for that, we need to get the ID also. So for that, I'm adding a new parameter, integer ID. I'm getting that from the route. I want to get it from the route ID colon, it is an integer type, and that's my modified route. So here the route will be student ID 1 or 2 or any ID. So it is a student slash ID slash update partial. So I'm updating this particular student. That's the ID. Then I should validate the ID. ID is less than or equal to 0, then bad request. Here also I'll get the student with this ID. So once I got the existing student, I will validate whether the existing student equal to null or not. If it is a null, I'm sending not found. Once that validation is done, I need to create new student DTO equal to new student DTO ID equal to existing student dot ID comma name equal to existing student dot name, then email equal to existing student dot email, address equal to existing student dot address. Done. So I have created the student DTO from existing student details. So I need this DTO to update from the JSON patch document. That's why I have created a DTO. Now patch document dot apply to this one, student DTO. So in the statement, all the changes we got from the client or UI will be applied to this DTO. Then we need to update these details back to the student. I'm copying this, and so I have updated this DTO details here. So what if something goes wrong when it is applying? So if something goes wrong when it is applying, how do we know that? So for that we need to send modal state. So if there is anything wrong happened, those errors will be added to modal state. Okay. So after applying that, we need to check if there are any errors. Modal state dot is valid. If it is not valid, then I am sending bad request. Bad request of the model state. So the model state will have the errors, and I'm sending those errors along with bad request status. Validating the patching is done. Once the patching is done, then we are updating those updated details back to the existing student record. We have updated all those. Then that's it. If it is an entity framework, then we need to call dbcontext.savechanges, but this is a in-memory repository, so no need to call any save changes. So once the updation is done, we are returning no content. 204. 204 is the no content. Okay, this is the HTTP patch endpoint. Let me run this. Yes. we can notice that there is a new endpoint got added. It is a HTTP patch, and the endpoint here is student/id/update partial. To update this using the JSON patch or HTTP patch, there are few rules to be followed. If you want to pass the data to this patch endpoint, we need to pass it in some pattern. So if you want to learn that pattern, there is jsonpatch.com website. If you go here, this JSON patch is basically supported all the operations like adding and updating and deleting. In our case, we are using JSON patch only for updating purpose. For updating, we need to use this one. If you notice this, we need to send the response like this. If you notice, our endpoint also asking the same thing. What is the operation? What is the value? What is the path? So the path here is the /student name is the path if you want to update the student name. So here replace is nothing but modifying the value. Adding is nothing but adding new value. Removing is nothing but removing the existing field. For our case, only the first one is applicable to update a record. We need to send it here like a operation is a replace, that is updating operation. The path here is a /student name. In our case, value will be new student name. So if you want to add or remove, you can use these two operations, but these two operations are not applicable for our demo. Let us follow this one. So you can go through all this document to understand about the JSON patch. In our case, let me click on try it, and I want to update the second student. Let me get the student details, try it, execute. These are student details. I want to update only student name. So the path, first thing is the path. What do you want to update? /student name. That's how we need to pass. I want to update the student name. The operation is the replacement operation. So the replacement is the value replacement, modifying the value. And from this one is not required. This one also not required. We need mainly these three things. The new value will be, so right now the student name is this one. Anil is the current student name. I want to modify it to Anil new. That's the new name I'm giving it. Let me inspect it. I'm opening the debugger tools and I'm going to the network tab and I'm clicking on execute. We got the 204 meaning successful, no content. Let me open this. If you open this, you can see the payload. Here it is passing only the particular student name property. It is not passing all the properties. It is passing whatever we wanted to update. So we have written it only for one record update, meaning one property update. If we want to update multiple properties, you can also do that, comma. And here if you want to update email, you can set it like that, replacement operation. The new email will be anilnew@gmail.com. That's how you can update multiple properties. If I send it here, execute, this time it is sending two values to the server. That's how you can send multiple property updates to the server. If you want to update only one property, you can send like this. If you want to update more properties, you can send like this. There is an error. We got response. The target location specified by the path segment email was not found. Okay, there is a spelling mistake. EMAIL. EMAIL. So that's a spelling mistake. Let me run it again. Execute. This time it got updated, and the payload here is this one. We have updated two properties. This time, before updating this one, it is this anil@gmail.com. I'm executing it, and after getting the new data, it is anilnew@gmail.com. That's how we can use HTTP patch. You can also see the payload. What is the payload is going to the server. If there are 100 or 1000 fields also, HTTP patch will send only the required data to the server. That's how we can achieve the optimization and the efficient execution of the endpoint.